Some of our viewers have been asking about how to stop feeling overwhelmed as a parent. There's a lot to it, but there's some really clear fixes too. Let's play with this word for a minute. Overwhelmed kind of presumes that there's some perfect amount of whelmedness and you've exceeded that. I've heard of people being underwhelmed too, which I guess means you haven't quite hit the point where you're perfectly whelmed. What would that even look like? I think we ought to start a trend here to talk about feeling perfectly whelmed. And maybe we'll determine what that looks like as a parent. Let's look at some of the causes of feeling overwhelmed. I think that's going to lead us into some solutions. One of the roots of feeling overwhelmed is a sense that you're not quite doing your job, that you're not adequate to the task that's before you, and so you feel overwhelmed. What would be the cure for that particular root? What's your job? If you've been watching this channel at all in the Positive Parenting playlist, you'll know the answer to that. Your job as a parent is to love them no matter what and even if. The cure for feeling overwhelmed based on this root that I'm not doing my job is to get clear about what your job is. Because guess what? You're doing your job, aren't you? If you're doing your job, you could feel perfectly whelmed that you already love your kids no matter what and even if. Does that help? Here's another root cause of feeling overwhelmed. There's too much to do. There's too much to do. There's so much to do that there's no way I could ever get it all done. Okay, reality check, people. There is too much to do. It's true. There is more to do than you could ever possibly get done. I think that's kind of a myth anyway. When have you ever been done with everything? You're not. Other stuff shows up once you finish the stuff you're working on. This is a true principle of life. There is too much to do. Accept the reality. If you accept that you can't possibly do everything, and that's okay, that's part of life, maybe you could get back to feeling perfectly whelmed. It's not your job to do all of the stuff that's not even possible to get done. What's your job? Oh yeah, we already talked about that. To love them no matter what and even if. Do you see how that starts to bring a little more whelmedness instead of feeling overwhelmed? Kind of relieving, isn't it? Another root cause of feeling overwhelmed is too many expectations. I'm expected to do this. I'm expected to do that. I'm not meeting up to all of these expectations. Okay, pause. Whose expectations? Who says you're supposed to look this way or be that way or accomplish this or do that? Who says? Now, maybe you've got a really good answer to that. Oh, well, my mother said that I should be this kind of a mom. Or society expects me to do this or that. All right, well, just consider the source. And let's see if that expectation is something that you really want to hang on to, something that you want to hang your hat on. Most of the time, the expectations that are kicking our trash as a parent come from our own mind. We're the ones dreaming up these expectations. I do this to myself too. Sometimes when I feel overwhelmed in a project I've taken on, it's because I have set a deadline, a timeline, a limit, an expectation for myself. I set it. I set the expectation. Well, if I set the expectation, can I change it? Wait, Dr. Paul, isn't that against the rules? Whose rules? Let's be clear about where the expectations are coming from. And I'm betting that if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's because of your own expectations and who's going to change those. I give you full permission to change your expectations for yourself. Isn't that cool? I gave you permission. Like you needed permission. Well, maybe you did, and I just gave it to you. So if anybody asks, you can say, hey, Dr. Paul, who has a PhD, because that means something to somebody, I'm sure, gave me permission to lighten up on the expectations. Wow, that feels a little better too. Are you feeling more perfectly whelmed as we go through this conversation? You know, I just realized we've talked about this before on the channel. In fact, you can link to another video. Watch it right after this one. Cue it up right there with that card about how to stop being overwhelmed. You'll get a double dose that way. I've got one more point for this particular video though. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. The root cause of that overwhelmed for us is feeling that we're not good enough. I could probably go off on this one for a while, but here's the thing. You are better than you think you are. You are better than you feel that you are. I tell my clients all the time here at the office, you're not as crazy as you feel. And they're like, oh, really? And they feel this relief because we get it in our head. You know, and it has to do with those expectations and the other things that we've already talked about here today. You're better than you think you are. As a parent, you are a benevolent, generous, loving parent. Will you just accept that, receive that from me? Because if your own head is telling you something different, then you're going to be all overwhelmed and then you're going to start yelling at your kids again and feeling upset. Pause. Just pause for a minute and accept what Dr. Paul's telling you here. You are a benevolent, generous, loving parent. Embrace that. And I know there's improvements you could make. That's why you're here. That's why we're doing these videos. Let's team up on that. Let's help each other with that. Setting that aside, you're already doing a good job. The fact that you're here tells me a lot about you. So embrace that for a minute. And let go of that destructive pride that has you hanging on to your own opinion about that in the face of what I just shared with you. Just trust me enough to go with that for now. When you accept that, how do you feel? Overwhelmed or perfectly whelmed? Let's all work together to be perfectly whelmed. We all get overwhelmed from time to time. Hopefully now we can all be more perfectly whelmed, right? We're ready to help you. Our amazing team of certified coaches is ready to take your call. Sign up right now. You schedule it, okay? A free breakthrough call with one of our coaches. We've got tons of resources available to you as a parent. Click on the link down in the description, drpauljenkins.com/breakthrough call. It's free and we're ready to talk to you.
Had a number so I could be color unknown, and then I tell her, look into my eyes and never let